Tonight on the news, Sri Lanka's permanent representative to the UN in New York says the government should allocate resources strategically to foreign missions overseas.
However, sir, you all supported the candidature of Ban Ki-moon for a second term.
You suggest that we go up and fly a flag?
It all depends. I'm not in the government.
Meanwhile, after a lapse of 168 years in the print media industry, News of the World says thank you and goodbye. On tonight's edition of Bitter Truth, we speak about the controversy surrounding the granting of broadcasting rights of international cricket matches to private media channels dedicated to sports. More on this and much more coming up right now on Weekend Primetime News with me, Arundhati Mudannayaka. A very good evening, and as always, we'll start off with a look at the headlines. The President states that those who speak about human rights do not speak about putting an end to the killing of people. 100 megawatts of electricity added to the national grid from the Norachole coal power plant. The opposition charges that the people are severely inconvenienced owing to the sudden power cuts. The controversial British tabloid News of the World publishes its final edition today. Now the story is in detail. President Mahinda Rajapaksa states that those who speak about human rights do not speak about ending the killing of people. The president expressed this view at a function held in Morawaka today.
This function was held to commence renovation work on the Morawaka Road in the Nelluwa area in Palavatta. This road is to be carpeted and modernized into a two-lane road.
Certain influential countries in the world and those in fraudulent diaspora display different views regarding human rights and how this country was liberated. They are attempting to show a different picture. They are not talking about how this country was liberated. I do not know of any human right that is greater than putting an end to the killing of people. We provided the people with the right to live.
The president also visited the Dansala at the Morawaka public grounds. Meanwhile, the renovation activities of the Pittigala Road in the Palavatta area in Horavala commenced under the patronage of the president this morning.
The opposition leader charges that the name of the country has been tarnished internationally. Opposition leader Ranil Wickremesinghe made this charge during a function held at the Sukudadasa Stadium in Colombo today.
This function was held to commemorate the 38th death anniversary of Sri Lanka's first sports minister V.A. Sukudadasa. National organizer of the United National Party, MP Ravi Karunayaka, was also present at the event.
මට බන් කි මූන් මැතිතුමා මුණ ගැහුණු අවස්ථාවේදී අද අපේ ප්‍රධානම ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙලා තියෙන ලංකාව.
When I met Ban Ki-moon, he touched on Sri Lanka's relations internationally and said that Sri Lanka has made its way to the international agenda. Especially when looking at this problem, it is evident that Sri Lanka cannot clash with the international community. We are aware that it is difficult to obtain visas. The number of tourist arrivals have reduced. Questions have been raised regarding Sri Lanka's image and name. If the trade between Sri Lanka and the US is affected, that impact will be boiled down to the people of the country. The best alternative is for the government and the opposition to unite and find solutions for these problems at hand. The time has come for every one of us to pay special attention to this and act. If we neglect this, it is the people who will suffer. The government has begun discussions with the Tamil National Alliance. These discussions have to be carried forward and a conclusion has to be reached. We welcome any sort of agreement between these parties. We are willing to assist. The deeds that were provided back then have become problematic. Due to the political influence that have been visible, the deeds of these people have been set aside and their dwellings have been demolished, and these lands are being provided to foreign hoteliers. This is such an era. At this instance, I want to responsibly state that at a time the 38th death anniversary of Sukudadasa is being marked, we will not let anyone to take away the heroic acts that were done by him during his time.
කිසිසේත් මාහිම වෙන්න දෙන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ කියන එක මම මෙතන වගකීමකින් කියන්න කැමතියි.
Sri Lanka's permanent representative to the United Nations in New York, Dr. Palitha Kohana, says that the government should allocate resources strategically at foreign missions overseas. The diplomat made this comment during an exclusive interview with News First Shamir Rasoleen on Direct Talk. Let's now take a look at the second edition of this interview.
So various views are being expressed by those in the government itself about this Channel 4 documentary. Some say that it has to be investigated. I saw a recent interview of Professor Rajiv Vijay Singh on BBC Hard Talk, and he says that he has informed the president that certain content of the Channel 4 documentary has to be investigated, and then some others dismiss this report completely. Now, what is the truth and what is the stand of the government at this present context, sir?
I think we are a responsible country. We have dignity, and if there are infractions, if there are serious, sustainable allegations, then it is our responsibility to ensure that something is done. We should look at what is before us, examine it thoroughly, go into all the details, and then deal with it. And of course, the LLRC is there, and I'm very confident that it will deliver as required. It consists of a number of very eminent persons. It has a wide mandate. They have observed its functioning right from the beginning. The media has been invited.
But transparency has been a problem, sir.
Why?
That is what the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Navi Pillay, mentioned, that she does not believe that the LLRC is transparent enough. And she says that an independent commission has to be appointed in Sri Lanka. A probably intergovernmental body has to be appointed to investigate allegations of war crimes in Sri Lanka.
Don't you think it's a bit rich for Navi Pillay to suggest that? I mean,
so you're in New York. You tell me.
On what basis does she do that? Here we have a commission consisting of people from different nationalities, different religions, some of who are from overseas, Sri Lankan born but from overseas, and it has sat in public. The media has been invited to almost all its sessions. So what is this question of transparency? I mean, I really don't know where Mrs. Navi Pillay is coming from. If a statement of this nature is made, it is very important to ensure that you get your facts right.
Why not an independent commission be established in the country?
Because we are confident about our own commission.
Where does the Darusman report stand at this point of time, sir?
I think it's probably ended up on a shelf somewhere. I'm being facetious. There are elements around the world who are trying to stoke some fire under the Darusman report, give it some life, but the Secretary General was categoric. He said the report was to him. He, in his wisdom, has made it public.
The Sri Lankan government was against this Darusman report, against the Channel 4 documentary, against the comments made by Navi Pillay herself. However, sir, you all supported the candidature of Ban Ki-moon for a second term. What is the logic behind this, sir?
I don't think you should link the Darusman report to the re-election of the Secretary General. The Secretary General was going to get re-elected one way or the other. You know the results. He was endorsed by 192 members. The entire membership of the United Nations unanimously endorsed him. The Asian group, where he started, unanimously supported him, backed him to the hilt. And then the Security Council, there was not a whimper of opposition to him. So in the circumstances, I think, what do you suggest? That we go up and fly a flag, say we
It all depends. I'm not in the government, unfortunately. One final question, sir, before I leave you this evening. Tell me, the role of your mission and the role of other missions across the world to defeat the anti-Sri Lankan notion around the world. What steps have to be taken? And how do you view the role of the government in the present context, sir?
I think one of the critical things that has to be done, and I've said this time and time again, is to increase the resource level of the missions. We need more media savvy personnel to deal with the media. We need people to deal with the NGO community. As you know, in Western countries, the NGO community has unbelievable access to policymakers and politicians, the influence is huge. So we need people who can deal with them on a day-to-day basis. Resources have to be allocated strategically, and people who are sent have to be capable of delivering.
Well, you can watch this full interview on Channel 1 MTV on Tuesday after primetime news at 9 p.m. Taking a look at a developing story for tonight, the opposition charges that the public is greatly inconvenienced by the disruption of electricity supply without prior notice. JVP's Propaganda Secretary, Parliamentarian Vijay Teherath, said at a media briefing held today that the present situation has arisen due to the absence of proper plans.
People were given promises during the time of the presidential election that Sri Lanka would be made the power hub of Asia by declaring open the tunnel at the Kothmale power plant and by having 2 opening ceremonies at Norachole. They also promised that there would never be any power cuts in the future. The ministers and the government that said this suspend electricity all of a sudden without notifying the public. During the month of May, the reservoirs were overflowing. If they had come to a correct estimate about the amount of hydropower necessary, we would not be facing this problem in the month of July.
They
built the Norachole coal power plant after spending 5.56 billion. According to the Minister of Power, this power plant, which uses coal to generate power, is built in order to provide a 24-hour electricity supply during 365 days of the year. Now, last week, just as they were about to generate power after putting the coal, the machines malfunctioned. It stopped there. They don't even tell this to the public and remain silent. We are aware of this, but not the country. The Norachole coal power plant is not functioning. The only outcome is that we ended up in debt.